Okay, good afternoon, Mrs. Rockefeller. Thanks for coming in. I'm glad you had time to come and talk to me about Molly's test scores. How's the baby?
She's great. She's not letting me get any sleep, but Molly's great with her.
Oh man, Molly talks about her all the time. She just loves her. Okay, so I wanted to go over Molly's test scores on this Scholastic Test of Achievement. Now, this is just a snapshot of the students. They took it about 6 weeks ago in March, and it's just really a snapshot of what they're learning throughout the curriculum. So I'm just going to go over it, and feel free to stop me if you have any questions or anything like that.
All right, don't worry. I'm not shy, so I'll ask.
Okay, great. Let's see. The very top portion has Molly's information, but don't worry because it's all confidential, and really it's just you and me in the school that are able to see any of this information.
Okay, great.
Okay, so let me just explain the score sheet. This top part is the norm referenced information, and the second part is the criterion reference-based information. Now, what the norm reference is it compares the students with other students nationwide in the same grade, given the same test under the same circumstances. And the second part is criterion reference, which I'll go over again later, but it's basically how she performs in specific subjects.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so as you can see, the top section is made up of different content areas: math, reading, science, language. And so first, let's look over her vocabulary scores right here at the top. Okay, so the first one is the number of items that were on the test. So right here it's 36. And the second, which is the raw score, is the number of items she got right. So it looks like she got 26 items out of 36, which is pretty good. And right here, this is the national percentile, which Molly has a 49, which means that Molly scored in the 49th percentile of students in the norm group that we were talking about.
Oh, okay. I had me worried for a moment.
Yeah, 49's not that bad at all. Let me show you on the bell curve sheet where she would fall. So right here is the average range in the middle, which I've highlighted, and this is the percentile equivalent. And so Molly, since she got a 49, she would fall right here. Was it 49? Okay, right, sorry. So she got a 49, which puts her in the average area here, which is great. So her vocabulary is something, that she's been working on and she's been improving, and so she's right where she needs to be.
Okay.
Now, back on this score sheet, the next part here, let's see, we're on vocabulary, is this part here is called the percentile band, and this basically is the standard error of measurement that the schools use, and what it says is that if she were to take the test again, she would most likely fall in this area. Or if the test questions were worded wrong, it basically gives it room for error to see where she would fall. So it goes right here from about 48 to 52. Okay, and then let's go back to, now I want to explain the last score on this norm reference one, which is the scale score, which is right here for vocabulary. So 498. It looks like, now 498 is, the scale score is just the class average. So it ranges from 200 to 800 on this test. So she did a 508, which is great. And back on this sheet, she falls right here, 508, and I've already highlighted for you above where she should be. So she's a little above average, which is great.
Okay.
Okay, right here. And then yours is the next one.
Oh, she's back at average in the middle.
Yeah, she did great.
So where does my daughter test in social studies?
Oh, so social studies. Okay, we can definitely look at her score on that section. Social studies, if you look at the number of items, it was 30. And then the raw score, 22, which is how many she got right.
Okay.
And that puts Molly in the 78th percentile, which over here, she falls right there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so she's above average. And she really enjoys social studies. I would say it's one of her favorite subjects for sure. But so she falls 78th in the norm group. And then, right, she's above average. Now, looking at her portfolio, which I will give to you and you can look at anytime you want, she's doing really well in social studies. And, she's always excited to do social studies at the end of the day. Sometimes she's asking me, when are we doing it? Or if we miss it because of, a prep rally or whatever, she's disappointed. And so, are you doing stuff with her at home with social studies?
Yes, her dad really loves social studies, so she gets that from him.
Oh, okay. I can see social studies and science as being one of her favorite subjects for sure.
Yeah.
In science, she falls in the 85th percentile, which is incredible. I mean, she's doing really well, and she just loves it. You can tell that. I mean, hopefully she'll be like a scientist when she grows up or something.
That's really good. I was never good in science. So.
Me either. Some of us got to work a little harder, but she enjoys it. Okay, do you have any questions looking over this top section before we move on to the bottom?
Yes, I was actually wondering what basic battery and complete battery.
Oh, right. Okay, good question. So basic battery is the overall score of the basic areas, except for science and social studies. So it's basically reading, math, listening, spelling. And the complete battery is the overall scores of all of them. Sometimes the school wants to see sort of how they did in just the core subjects.
Okay, that makes sense. I've just never seen those before.
Yeah, I had to get used to that. Okay, so the criterion reference base, which is at the bottom section. Mm-hmm. Now, this is just how the student does, how Molly does on her specific skills, Okay, if you look down right here at the list, are there any skills you don't recognize?
Okay, let me see. What is phonetic principle?
Phonetic principle, that's under spelling right there. Okay. Phonetic principles is knowing each distinct sound of the letters, which basically helps a student to sound out words.
Oh, okay, yes.
Let's look at how she did on phonetic principles. So right here, the first number is the raw score, RS. And I'm going to give you a paper that has all the abbreviations and everything, so that when you're going over it with Dad, you can basically break it down to him.
Okay, good, because it's a lot.
Okay, so phonetic principles, and let's see, she got raw score, which was 8, and then the number of problems, which was 11. So let's see, number of problems was 8, 11. She's been working on her phonetic awareness. She's definitely showing improvement. I definitely agree with how she did. I would have expected her to do. In the medium range right here, it shows that she falls right there at the medium. And so she's definitely come a long way from where she was at the beginning of the year, and I expect her to keep improving.
Okay.
Let's see. So let's look at the procedures. Let's see, where are those procedures? Hold on, give me 1 second. She got 8 out of 5 correct. Right, and there are also samples in her portfolio that I can show you, definitely. Okay.
So what can we do as the parents to help her improve her measuring skills?
Oh, so measuring skills, gosh, there's a lot you can do for that. I don't know if you guys, you cook at home together. Cooking is a great way to work on her measuring. And so I feel like that's something she would really enjoy, whether you're baking or anything like that. That's what I tell my parents is like one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, I love to bake, so I'll just make sure that she helps me the next time.
Oh, I'm sure she'll love it. And then you guys feel free to just bring in those baked goods.
So it looks like that the social studies on top was higher than the social studies. So, like, it shows that she is in the 78th percentile on the first one for social studies, but down here it shows that she made low.
Right, she scored. Okay, and that's because this top part is compared to the norm group, and then this bottom part is just her scores, not compared to anybody at all.
Oh, okay.
It looks like language, Molly did very well in the high scores of all of the subsections. Where's the language? Oh, right there. She scored high in all of them. And so I'm not surprised by this at all because Molly loves to write in her journal every day. And I'm definitely not surprised to see how amazing she did on that part of the test. If she would have scored low, I probably would have been looking through it even more. But do you guys do a lot of writing at home?
But yeah, she actually has a cousin in California that she writes back and forth with.
Oh,
And they only get to see
that's
each other at Christmas. So writing is sometimes,
That's great, and people don't do that anymore. Like the writing and stuff, that's such a great way, and it's really benefiting Molly a lot. Now, I know you're going to go home and you're going to share all of these scores with Dad, so I'm going to send you home with a handout, and it explains everything that we discussed, and it's got all the abbreviations and everything like that. And if you feel, when you go home and you're looking at it and you have any questions, just come back tomorrow. I see you all the time. I'm always picking up. And so if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer it. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out to explain
Of
it
course.
for me.
No problem. Thanks for taking the time to go over her scores. And I enjoyed having her in my classes here. And I look forward to working with her and seeing how well she improves. And just tell Dad I said hi. Give the baby a kiss.
Okay.
And have a good evening.
I do too.
All right. Thanks so much.